All right, let's talk about one of the most tempting and honestly one of the most dangerous habits for any product manager. And that is the rush to come up with a solution.
I mean, this just hits home, right? We've all seen it happen. Heck, if we're being really honest with ourselves, we've all done it. A stakeholder has a great idea, or we see a customer complaint, and boom, our brain just lights up with this brilliant feature concept. It feels good. It feels productive, like we're moving fast.
But here's the thing, that instinct, that rush to be the hero with the perfect answer, it's a trap. It completely short circuits the most important part of our job, and it almost always leads to building these beautiful, elegant solutions for the wrong problems, or sometimes for problems that don't even really exist. To really get why this is such a huge mistake, I want you to walk through a story with me. For just a minute, I want you to forget you're a PM. Instead, imagine you're a detective and you've just arrived at a crime scene. Okay, so here are the basic facts. A murder has happened in a house where a family of 3 lives, and the police have also learned that the family's cook, who actually lived in the house, has completely disappeared. The scene is set. So 2 detectives arrive on the scene, and this is where it gets really interesting because they approach this in totally different ways. Detective number 1, let's call them the investigator, is super methodical. They seal off the scene, they start gathering forensic evidence, they schedule interviews with everybody, and they make 0 assumptions. They just follow the book. But then you have detective number 2, the conclusionist. This detective sees that the cook is missing and immediately thinks, it's obvious, the cook did it and ran. And from that exact moment on, their entire investigation is just about proving that one theory. And this, right here, shows you the core difference perfectly. The first detective is investigating to learn what actually happened, no matter what that turns out to be. The second one, they're just looking for validation for a conclusion they've already made up in their head. One is all about discovery, the other is all about confirmation. So let me ask you a question. Which one of these 2 is actually doing their job? Who is more likely to figure out the real story here? It's obvious, isn't it? It's detective number 1. They're the one who's committed to finding the truth, not just confirming a story they've already written in their head. They're doing the hard, patient work that real investigation requires. Okay, so let's bring this all back to our world, back to product management, because it's kind of funny. While we all agree on the right way to solve a murder mystery, we so often act like the wrong detective in our day-to-day jobs. So you have to be honest with yourself for a second. When you hear about a customer's problem, are you the investigator who carefully, patiently gathers all the evidence? Or are you the conclusionist who's already sketching out a solution in your mind before you've even left the room? Way too many of us are solution jumpers, and it's not because we're bad at our jobs. It's because our brains are just wired that way. We're under all this pressure to show progress, to look like we have all the answers. So we fall into these cognitive traps, like confirmation bias, where we start, without even realizing it, just looking for data that backs up the solution we already fell in love with. We become detective number 2. And here is the most crucial point of all. The second you anchor yourself to a solution, your mind basically closes for business. Your curiosity just switches off. You're no longer discovering the problem, you're just defending your answer. So, how do we fight this? How do we make sure we are always the investigator PM? Well, you need a process, a protocol that you have to follow before you're even allowed to write a single word about a potential solution. Let's walk through what that looks like. First things first, you start with a clear hypothesis. What is the exact pain point you believe your customer has? Write it down, it forces you to be clear. Second, you do your customer interviews, but your goal here is just to observe and listen, not to pitch an idea. How are they actually solving this today? Watch their screen, see where they get stuck. Third, you validate those pain points. Separate what you actually saw from what you assumed. Document it all. Then, and this is a big one, you check internally. Humbly ask around. Hey, could an existing feature we already have solve this with just a tiny tweak? After that, you look outside. Study your competitors. Not to copy them, but to understand what the landscape of solutions even looks like. Step 6 is all about looking to the future. Identify adoption risks. What could stop people from using this new thing? And finally, the ultimate test. Can you define the core benefit? Can you write a simple killer tagline for it? If you can't, you don't understand the problem well enough yet. Simple as that. And only when you have gone through every single one of these steps, when you have collected all the evidence and truly understood the crime scene,
Only then do you earn the right to even start thinking about a solution. This isn't just some optional checklist, this is the job. And all of this leads to a fundamental shift in how we think about our role. See, we're not in the business of just shipping features. We're in the business of earning the right to build them in the first place. Let that one sink in for a second. Your value as a PM isn't measured by how fast you can churn out a PRD. It's measured by the depth of your understanding of the problem you're trying to solve. And that understanding, that's what you earn through disciplined, patient discovery. You know, we often like to think of solutioning as the fun, creative part of the job, but it's not. It's the responsible part. It's that moment where you take all the evidence you've gathered and respectfully, carefully, craft a response. The real creativity, that happens back in the investigation. It's in how you ask questions and connect dots that nobody else even saw. So the next time you feel that exciting rush, that spark of a new idea, just pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, which detective am I going to be today? Because your real job isn't about having the best ideas. It's about finding and falling in love with the most important problems.